I will now introduce our second main speaker of the day. Ahorja, please join me in welcoming the leader of Aontú, Peadar Tóibín.
Míle buíochas Emer Kern and Curla sin agla say goni. So dús bhálam just míle buíochas a gháil de gachaile gine atá anseo inniu. Tá sé go hintach go bhfuil daoine as gach ceann den tír I láthar daoine as Belfirsta, daoine as Kerry, Loch Gorman, Port Larga, Corky, Cúndanamí, Dúnagáil, tá daoine as gach chundé anseo inniu agus tá sé go hintach ar fad. Agus cá mé rá, tá mé fuir brodúil gfuil mé anseo le pórtaí nua, le glúiseacht nua, agus le dóchas agus tudcaí ulmhór atá os ar cór fós. Agus tá muidig seastaimh ansa in aice le reilig Theobald Wolfe Tone. Tá sé go hintach ar fad. I'd like to just thank everybody who has come here today from every single part of the country, from every county in Ireland that is represented here. And people have travelled long distances and been up early in the morning to be here. I'd like to thank everybody who's involved in the organisation of this today. And there's so many people, I'm always nervous about naming anybody, but I'd like to thank Liam McAuley for his efforts with regards the organisation of today, for sure. I'd like to thank Emer, our chair, and Gráinne for the rendition of that lovely poem as well. And I'd really like to thank Ruan for the really interesting speech. It's absolutely fascinating presentation. And it struck me when you're saying that is that we have this instinct in our own minds in Ireland to minimise our importance and the importance of our history, as if it was some kind of parochial experience that we suffered, when in actual fact it was plugged into the national and international movements that are happening around Europe at that time. I suppose, first of all, lots of the issues that Ruan mentioned there, many of us take for granted today. Many of us take those issues and ideas for granted. But at the time of Theobald Wolfe Tone, they were revolutionary ideas. These were ideas that contradicted radically the situation that existed in Ireland. And Wolfe Tone and the United Irishmen and the movement set out to transform Ireland radically, to transform people from serfs into citizens, to transform the human subjects living under monarchs into sovereign decision makers themselves. He sought to wrest power from an inbuilt machine that existed in this country for hundreds of years. And it must have seemed so difficult at that time for these people to see could actually change the status quo that existed. And that inbuilt system was in Irish society for its own benefit. And it did horrendous things to the people. It dispossessed the people around them. They were downtrodden strangers in their own lands. And it's important that we remember the massive efforts that they went at that time. So in other words, part of Tone's mission was to inculcate, and this is another idea that we've learned from Wolfe Tone, to inculcate the people around him that we all have a massive duty and a responsibility for the stewardship of Ireland. And that's a really important thing as well, that citizenship wasn't just about achieving rights, but there were responsibilities linked to the whole idea of citizenship, and that we have responsibilities to steer this country that we are involved in. And that idea, I think, is as loud and clear today as it's ever been. And that's why it's important when we look around to all the people that we've been working with over the last while, to know that we have a responsibility not to melt into the background, but actually to stand up in the foreground and help to drive and steer this country that we're involved in. They were determined to develop a new ideology, and they set out a practical, logical, respectful ideology that we live by today. And it's important as well that people like Tone, McCracken, Nielsen and Orr developed an ideology that led to radical change in Ireland. And it's amazing that the language that they used, the society that they developed in their minds and wrote about and that they fought for, motivated so many people over the last 200 years in this country and motivated them to do wonderful things. And many people, many thousands of people in this country went to their graves, sacrificed everything they had for the fires that were lit by Wolfe Tone. Thomas Davis, the Trinity graduate who took who placed the first headstone at Tone's grave nearly 50 years after Tone's death, took up the United Irishmen's mantle of empowering the ordinary person and making them cognizant of the fact that they were both oppressed and that they had an untapped ability to actually fight against that particular oppression as well. In 1840, Davis rallied his compatriots with the reminder, "Gentlemen, you have a country." And that's Aontú's task today, is to remind people, men and women, you have a country. And that must not go heard throughout every single county in Ireland. We have a responsibility to shape the affairs of Ireland at local, regional and national levels. But it's interesting as well that the greatest obstacles that faced the United Irishmen, the young Irelander and the Fenians themselves, was not necessarily the vast resources that were on hand with regards to the British Empire, but rather the obstructions planted deep in the very people from whom these groups sought to liberate. So the major challenges weren't necessarily the power of the British Empire, but the instincts in the minds of the oppressed, to try and get them to motivate and to realise, to be confident in their ability to change the country as well. And how many of us have gone around the doors of this country over the last number of months and listened to people to say that they have given up, that they can't change anything, that nothing will ever change in this country. And in a way, that's our biggest challenge as a people today, is to free people, to release them from those particular shackles. In our time, Tone's vision and objectives remain to be achieved. The strength of the United Irish movement was the significance of their analysis of Ireland in their day, and that analysis bears out today. And Aontú is committed to furthering the cause of the United Irish movement. In one of Tone's first publications, a pamphlet called The Spanish War, Tone urged for Ireland to remain a neutral force, remain a sovereign country. And these issues, again, are at play, or are at threat in our time. And it's really important to remind ourselves that Aontú seeks the independence of Ireland, north, south, east and west. We believe in self-determination of the Irish people, because decisions made closer to the people that they affect are better decisions. We can influence those decisions, and we can hold the people who make those decisions to account. When decisions are made in Berlin, London or Brussels, they are not made in Ireland's interests. London treats the northern economy, for example, like an economic backwater. Think about it. At partition, 80% of the industrial activity of this country happened in the 3 counties around Belfast. Belfast was the largest city in Ireland, and the north was far the richest part of the country. The south was known for 2 industries, beer and biscuits at the time. And the north of Ireland has changed radically in that time. The north of Ireland's economy is not functioning to its full potential due to one key ingredient, and that's the key ingredient of self-determination. People making decisions for themselves about their own lives. And that's really important. And I get asked by journalists on a regular basis, well, what's the story with unity? That's going to cost us an arm and a leg if we go down the issue of unity. As if the people of Derry are not as enterprising as the people of Donegal, or the people of Newry are not as smart as the people of Dundalk. Absolutely. If we can make decisions on this island, in Ireland, for ourselves, we can grow and unlock the potential of Irish unity. It's also very interesting that we are living in interesting times. There was a poll carried out, an exit poll, with regards to the last election in the south of Ireland, which showed that 77% of the people of the south support Irish unity. 77%. Opinion polls by BBC have shown that those seeking Irish unity, in the case of a hard Brexit, is about 42%. That's just 3%, neck and neck with those seeking to remain in the Union. And it's also interesting that since 2017, politically, those in favour of the Union in the north of Ireland have become a minority. And they have become a minority in every single election since. And we've also, amazingly, heard high-profile unionists such as Eileen Paisley, Peter Robinson and Alex Kane. They have stated that unionism needs to start to think about the idea of Irish unity, needs to start to think about the issue of a border poll. So Fine Gael is radically out of step with the majority view in Ireland, north or south. And the danger here is, in my view, if Fine Gael do not start to prepare for the inevitable here, they're going to sleepwalk this country into a similar situation that David Cameron did around Brexit. They're going to be faced with a change, a radical change, without any preparation or planning done in advance. And that's why we in Aontú put out a call just in the last week. We're asking on the government to set up a new Ireland Forum on Irish Unity, to invite the views and the colour of all politics across Ireland's north and south into a forum where we can start to discuss these issues. And at the very least, we need to start to discuss issues such as convergence north and south. The All-Ireland economy is one of the best ways to mitigate against the worst excesses of Brexit, and yet this government is doing precious little around the All-Ireland economy. And if we do move towards convergence with regard to the enterprise services and infrastructure, it simply makes the lives of the people of Ireland better, more efficient, and it makes that sunny day of transition more achievable as well. Wolfe Tone and the United Irishmen set out a goal to unite Catholic, Protestant and dissenter. And I've been fascinated over the last number of weeks with regards to the amount of people from a Protestant unionist background who have contacted us in Aontú with regards our objectives towards unity. It's been fascinating. Some people have said that they're uncomfortable with the idea, but they're willing to talk. And some people have said that they see it now as a logical thing to do. And we're starting to discuss and to open dialogue with people from a Protestant unionist background in the north of Ireland to see can we start to achieve that. Many of them, I have to say, said they're not happy to do the same thing with Sinn Féin. Many of them have said that they want to talk to other people with regards to this particular project, and we're quite happy to do that. It's also massively important to take in to mind here that Wolfe Tone spoke about the unity of Catholic, Protestant and dissenter, and that's a key pillar for ourselves. We are an Irish Republican Party, but we will not dress up in the clothes of Sinn Féin. We will not dress up in the clothes of Fianna Fáil or any other organisation. We are ourselves. We have our own identity, and we will be who we will. And we will be a cumulative of the people who are here today. In every single addition that you bring into this organisation, that is the character of who we are as a people. But our view is a view towards pluralism. And pluralism is forgotten about in Ireland. There are so many people from a Catholic background or even a Protestant background who feel that they don't have the ability anymore to simply articulate who they are. Where's the pluralism there? Where's Wolfe Tone's republicanism when any sector of society has to keep their heads down? This country is for everybody, and we believe that everybody's entitled to live their lives to the full extent without fear or favour. And that doesn't matter if they're Catholic, Protestant, it doesn't matter on their religion, it doesn't matter on their colour, it doesn't matter on their orientation. They are all citizens of this country and they have a right to be equally respected as such. Wolfe Tone also spoke about inalienable rights. Inalienable rights was a new and radical idea at the time. And inalienable rights are at the heart of who we are as well. The English Republican Thomas Paine inspired the United Irishmen in the book The Rights of Man. And similarly, he stated that citizens must be afforded inalienable rights. There is an innate value in every single living human being. And shockingly so, we are the only Dáil party in this country that believes that 100%. It's absolutely shocking that we believe that every single living human being has an inalienable right to life, and we are the only party that has that lock, stock and barrel within our party. And we will remain the organisation that will fight for that right in future as well. It's important, I think, at this moment in time to take a few seconds just to look at the journey that we have travelled. And we have travelled some journey, well, at least I have. I put up some serious miles. In 20 weeks, Accordia Gael, in 20 weeks, we have built a national movement. That is a phenomenal achievement in 20 weeks. We've held meetings, 40 meetings in the 32 counties. We have now 2,000 members of this organisation. We have 60 functioning common across the country. We contested 70 constituencies, north and south. And that's roughly about 1/3 of the constituencies in the state. And in those constituencies, we achieved 5% of the vote in our first outing within 20 weeks. That is a phenomenal achievement. We have 4 councillors elected across the country, 5 elected reps now, and over 33,000 people voted for Aontú in the elections. Now, some of our people will tell you that they were selected 3 weeks in advance of the elections. Many of those people did really well. Many people hit the bar, unfortunately, and nearly got there. But we did massive, and I want to pay a special tribute to the men and women who got elected for us in this election. In the north, we had Dr. Anne McCluskey, who was elected councillor in Derry, and a wonderful vote. In places like Black Mountain, in the heart of West Belfast, Aontú, in about 4 weeks, pulled 750 votes. An incredible vote in a very short space in time. Sarah O'Reilly topped the poll in her first election in Ballyburra in County Cavan, getting the biggest Aontú vote in the country. Peadar Tóibín took a seat in Navan, barely missing out on topping the poll, but a massive vote, and nonetheless, for a first-time candidate standing in the elections. And Jim Codd took a seat in Wexford, and the people of Wexford gave Jim Codd the nod on that fateful day. Fair play to him. But I want to pay tribute to absolutely every single other candidate, and I'm looking at many of those candidates here. It is a massive thing that you have done over the last while. It is a massive thing to lay down a foundation for a new organisation, for a new movement. And, you know, in any election, only about 1/5 of the seats are actually in play anyways. Most of the seats actually land back in those political parties. And for people to be challenging and hitting the bar on those seats is a massive achievement too. I want to thank other councillors who have been with us before as well, and I see Brendan as well for his hard work in coming on board, and to thank you very much for your efforts there. It was a massive thing. We had serious challenges to do that. And remember, in the 4 weeks in advance of the local elections, we received 1 minute of broadcast time on RTE radio and television in total, in that whole 4 weeks. And actually, it was the lowest broadcast time I received as an elected rep in the 8 years or 9 years that I have been a TD. And it's also important to realise that we have many challenges going ahead. But tus ma la nehibra, we have laid a phenomenal foundation on which to build on. But what we do next is actually the most important thing. Because allowing that foundation just to lie there is not good enough. We need to take a week or 2 off for sure and recharge the batteries. But we need to go back into every single community from whence we have come and start to build. Any commons that are in operation, we have to make sure that they're full of energy again. And we have to start new commons around the country. We have to get involved in activism, in campaigning, in street politics. We have to make sure that the name of Aontú is in the minds of absolutely everybody else around the country. We have possibly 4 by-elections coming down the road, but definitely a general election as well within the next 6 to 8 months, and we have to prepare from that. But I think it's important, and I always find that these occasions, they always happen in graveyards. And I think it's important that we realise that from the graves of dead Irish patriots spring new ideas, new parties and new nations. And that's why we come back to the likes of Bodenstown and to this graveyard. It's because, and this is the most important thing in my view, the best way that we can commemorate the United Irishmen, the best way that we can commemorate Wolfe Tone, is simply to achieve his objectives. Gur míle maith agaibh go léir.